Baby, listen, if F around and find out was a person, we met him on today. You guys, listen, we are back to talk Interview with a Vampire, Season 2, Episode 8, the finale, y'all. Can y'all believe it's over? The episode's entitled, and that's the end of it. There's nothing left, baby. But there was so much more left. And when I tell you there's quotables for days throughout this entire episode, I'm going to just set it right there. Get it, don't be timid when you ain't it, fly that. Love a bone, give along, need it. I don't want no drip, baby, say like My name is Ashley, and this is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, and I am here to put you on, okay? Right into this episode, though, y'all. If you open up, and my baby Louis is in the crypt. He's in the crypt, and he's moaning, sobbing, screaming, okay? Present day, he's letting Daniel and Armand know that Claudia was dead, and he could feel it. Like he felt his arm resetting itself. Like he could feel his heart rate slowing down. He felt the loss of Claudia immensely, right? But not only that, sitting there in his feelings, trying to recreate the history, right, of it all. Maybe if I hadn't taken that candy when I was 7 years old from the barber, whatever that means. I hope we get a backstory to that at some point. If I'd worn a different suit that day, maybe Lestat and I never would have met. Maybe this would have never happened if I could have in some way altered the past. And I know for me, I've been there before, right? What if I had done this differently? Would it have resulted in a different outcome? And finally, he comes to the point in his mind where he says, listen, none of it would have changed. The suit would have changed absolutely nothing. There's no revision in my history that could have changed the events of what happened. Now, Armand is giving us his rendition of what happened to him, honey. He was demoted. He was having to clean up the bodies, feed the people to the rats, honey. And he was hamming it up because that's what Santi wanted, according to Armand. The lies, honey. The lies of it all. I mean, Armand is doing all of the grunt work, allegedly. Okay. And we see him feeding this man. And I'm like, who is this strange man that you're feeding, Armand? Like, what are we doing? All of this is just for show because I don't trust anything. Santi is reveling, allegedly, in his new leadership role, in his promotion in the coven, and loving every bit of life. And Santi says, and I've abased myself all the more so that they're not looking at me. And Daniel's like, yeah. Okay, so how'd you get Louis out? And basically we find out that Armand has taken his own blood, made a sacrifice, got a new crypt, and switched Louis out, okay? Louis gets the blood, feeds on it, and baby, the dead has arisen. But not the normal dead, okay? Because Louis is on a get it back in blood mission. He is on a vendetta, aka kamikaze mission, right? Because he says, I'm taking everybody out, but I plan on going out too. So he knew that this was almost mutually ensured destruction, right, on his quest. But what really got me, honey, is the fact that Louis said that his rage conspired with madness, honey, and they were having full-on conversations. Louis was just a passenger, and if you know Dexter, you know the dark passenger, but that's the type of time Louis was on, okay? So he gets out and he's like, listen, I gotta feed and I gotta make a plan because everybody gotta pay. Everybody got to pay. Everybody that was there has got to pay. And so when I tell you that Louis was stacking up bodies in this little stolen crypt, honey, and having conversations with the people as they personified his madness, I was like, y'all are doing the most. Interview with the Vampire writers, and I'm absolutely here for it. Absolutely. Right. And so he's like, this plan won't work because they could get out. This plan won't work because they can get out. And finally, he settles on the fire, honey. And he's filling up the jugs, making his munitions. And I'm like, Louis, he also has his little sickle with him to cut them off in case they get away. And I said, baby, he came up with a plan. All right. And so at this point, Armand gets into Louis' head and is like, why are you still here? You should leave. And Louis said, I ain't going nowhere. And I recommend you, since you saved me, that you don't be at the theater. around, X o'clock because it's going down. And so Armand is like, I had complicated feelings because this was my coven for all of these years, but I loved Louis. And so it was them or him. And at the end of the day, I had to choose him because without him, I was nothing. Armand, be freaking for real. Armand infuriated me in this episode because we all knew it, right? And it was only a matter of time before the truth got revealed. And so as Louis is entering the Theater des Vampires for the last time, he says, when you're in the coffin, your senses are completely dulled, right? He said, I could have been a jet plane, an ambulance. He could have been anything making all the noise, and they would have been sleeping peacefully in their coffins. And so this was the perfect time, baby. As we enter in and he goes to the dressing room and he's down there with all of the coffins, he stumbles upon Santi's, little dress area. And on the mirror, why did that man have Tweedly Deedly Dead with all of Claudia's journals sitting right there? Baby, low down. And I think that's what sent him over the edge, because at that point he immolates, or whatever it's called, the fire, and everything is sparked up. Somebody comes down the steps and he gets them in the neck. And I'm like, you doing it. You doing it, Buki. So as the Theater des Vampires goes down in flames, we see Lestat's picture burning in the flames. And, okay, it's cool. And now we get this other version of Louis, honey, with his motorbike, with the blicky strapped on his back. And I'm like, okay. So basically he says that of all of the vampires, he got all of them except for 4. We have the 2 girls, the girlfriends of Santi, Sam, and Santiago himself. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So first he gets the girls on the motorbikes, honey, blows them up immediately. They talked for 2 seconds and gone. They didn't even know what was going on, just that they were trying to escape. But Louis had something better for him. Out of there. Boom. Then we see Santi, honey. And this is when the conversation ensues and got interesting. I loved everything about this. In this moment, y'all, it felt so noir. It felt so 1940s detective bogey vibes with the narration, with the music. I was here for every second of this tete-a-tete between Louis and Santiago. And so Louis in Santi's head, boy, talking about, hey, Francis. Hey, Francis, you ain't know I knew, did you? How you begged your maker for him to rename you Santi. Can you call me Santiago? I said, now, Louis, did you have to sound it out like that, honey? He done talked about Santi's manhood, said it was so small. Santi said, it wasn't small. It's just that my cojones are so much bigger. It looks small to her, honey. Baby, it was too much, okay, this conversation. And Santi takes it to a new level. He said, we used Claudia's ashes for my eyeshadow, honey. We sprinkled it on the popcorn for the patrons. I used it to pleasure myself. Sick and twisted. So Santi, you deserve to go out exactly the way Louis took you out, honey, because when I tell you, when he finally got Santi and Santi thought he was the big bad and gonna do something, baby, the guillotine. That's all I can say. And when he kicked that head, drop kicked that head like a soccer ball, y'all, I was laughing out loud. I could not take it. And so now it is time to meet with Armand face to face. They have this conversation and Louis asks, when did you start lying to me? And he says, the night you turned Madeline. Lies. Armand can't tell the truth to save his raggedy, unloved life. Do you hear me? Because why lie? Why lie at this point? And so he says, yeah, it was the night of Maddie's transformation. And Armand, you was lying before that. You were lying all the time. And he says, I'll spend my life making it up to you, Louis. And Louis said, listen, you'll never make it up to me. Just wake me up when the sun goes down. Wake me up. Okay. And then we find out Lestat is still in Paris, honey. He's there. And he's actually in a cavern where his maker, Magnus, right, would reside and apparently pile up the failures, the blonde failures. Because apparently Magnus had an affinity for blondes, maybe. And so they roll up on Lestat there, Armand and Louis, and Lestat curled up in the sewer, honey. And Louis says, "You look small." And basically, again, we discover they're in Magnus's lair, and Lestat is like, "Oh, trouble in paradise? What's going on with the happy couple?" We confronts him and is like, "You feeling bad about having your daughter unalived?" And Lestat's like, "There's laws, Louis." And Louis says, "Lestat, you done broke every law. You done broke every law, man." And Lestat's basically like, "I've just been thinking on some stuff. Been sitting down here pondering." And Louis says, "Well, I've come to take you out, okay? I think I'm going to burn you up." And Lestat says, "That's cute, but Magnus is my maker." Okay? And also, if you didn't know that, thinking you're going to burn me up, I have the blood of Akasha as well. All right? So what you think you're about to do, it's never going to happen. And my thing is, okay, so I guess this is invincible, Lestat. And then so Louis says, "Okay, well, I can't take you out that way. So let me do you one better. Here, Lestat, this is your death." And he goes over to Armand and says, "I'll be with this man forever," and kisses him. And at first we see Lestat falter a bit. His face changes and I'm like, "Oh," but then, Lestat gonna snap back. And for everybody who was in the comments talking about Lestat, I want you to put some respect on his name after this episode. Do you hear me? Put some respect on his name, because I knew what I felt was real. In my heart of hearts. You know what I'm saying? I knew it. I'm going to just set it right there. Okay. And so Lestat says, right, as they're, go kissing and doing all that stuff, he's like, "I wonder how long he'll have this hold on you. Let's see how long this holds," I think was verbatim Lestat's words. And back present day, Daniel's like, "What an interesting thing to say. Why would Lestat say that, Louis?" Louis says, "Well, that's obvious. He didn't think we were going to last." Louis. Apparently it held for 77 years. Apparently it held for 77 years. And so now we're back present day. Armand and Louis are gleefully discussing their travels after Paris. And in that moment, Louis says, "And that's the end of it. There's nothing else." And so, y'all, I'm immediately thinking we're only 28 minutes and 54 seconds into this episode. Clearly, it did not end there. Clearly, there's so much more to the story. And so Daniel, in good old Daniel fashion, honey, he comes up and is like, "Let me ask a few follow-up questions. It's in me. It's not on me, it's in me. I'm a journalist to the heart. And so some things just aren't adding up, okay?" And he says, "You remember the tractor salesman back in New Orleans, and Lestat communicated to you telepathically and said that you were messing up? I thought a maker couldn't do that after transformation." Louis says, "Oh, well, maybe he just said it. Maybe he just whispered it to me." He says, "Okay. Okay." And he says, "Well, Louis, what about back in Paris? You said that Sam was guarding Armand in the theater, but then you also said he was one of the ones who put you in the crypt. How could he be two places at once?" And Armand jumps in, "Oh, he was definitely guarding me." And Louis says, "Yeah, he was guarding. I must have just gotten it mixed up. And, I didn't go after him because all is forgiven." And Armand says, "Yeah, he's a DJ. He wears helmets now." Okay. All right. Okay. So Malloy's like, All right. No, there's actually something else. There was more than one person in the building that night that could have saved you, Louis. And Louis like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you remember when you told me about all them soldiers that Lestat had procured and brought up into the townhouse?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "How many of them were there? 15, 20? He said, "About 30. And he said he was able to mind bend all of them, Lestat. Daniel said, "Listen, Louis, Armand ain't save you. Lestat did, baby." And when we go back in the history of it all, when it all is said and done, honey, we got the full tea. I said, "Daniel, you better do your job with the help of Real Rashid and the Talamasca." Okay, because the messages were coming through. The messages were coming through on the regular. Okay, like I said, when he pulled out that script, I said, "Oh, it's finna come out. It's all finna come out." And when I tell you, Armand not only orchestrated, rehearsed, probably wrote part of the script, he directed the daggum play. Interesting. Oh, he didn't know. Armand didn't know. He knew everything. He directed it. He had his footnotes and notes in the margins. Low down. Armand says, Daniel, where did you get this? He said, oh no, it's too late now, brother. It's too late now, Arun, Amadeo, Armand. You ain't saved nothing. You just took credit for it. Baby. We also found out in this moment that Sam is a man of the Talamasca's own heart, okay? Been working for him for years. It's up and it's stuck because Louis took that script. Honey, he paged through it like only a vampire with the vampire nail set can do. Child, I thought Armand was going to pop Daniel's head in that moment. And Daniel thought so too because he's looking scared. All right. Armand rushes out after Louis because Louis is like, you played in my face. All right. You played in my face. And this became domestic. All right. Trigger warning because it came domestic. Louis tosses Armand up against the wall. He said, listen, don't you touch Daniel in there or I will take you out. I said, oh, Louis got strength. While they're in there doing that, though, Daniel gets a message from the Talamasca. It said, get out. Get out right now. Double message back to back. And Daniel looking delayed, right? Like, get out, Daniel. And goes in there and sees the damage, honey, because we saw the sky falling all around Daniel. And Armand is bruised and bloodied up against the wall. And Louis like, I'm not playing with you. It's done. It's over. And I said, is this what it took? The spell has been broken. Louis got his mind back. This has been the Louis I've been wanting to see. This is the Louis that I have been wanting to see. But yeah, he wore Armand out. He said, you don't touch him. You understand? I said, you better go on and stand up. You better go on and stand up, Louis. And Louis says, listen, Daniel, I got a car coming to get you. Sets the laptop on fire, but says, listen, I'm wiring 10 million to your account. Go live your best life. Next scene, Louis in New Orleans during Essence Fest, honey. And I said, Louis back with his people. It had to come full circle, y'all. We needed this full circle moment. He's back there, the Uber driver just rambling on, which was so cute. And Louis is reveling in being home, I feel like. Not only that, but free of the gremlin. You know what I'm saying? Free of the gremlin. He goes on a walking tour. Okay, through his old parish, the old sites, the building, and they're recounting the story of the child bride, the hustler, honey, and the king of the parade. Forgive me, I don't know the phrasing. And, you know, listening to the retelling of the story, Louis tickled. And of course, it's all nostalgic vibes. And then he spots out of the corner of his eye, kind of like this street urchin vampire. And he's like, what is this? He's looking like, who is this catching rats? And so, of course, he follows him back. And who do we bump into in New Orleans, honey? I'm not going to call Lestat destitute ever, but he's living far below his means. We've never seen Lestat live like this, okay? But he's there playing on a fake keyboard, a wooden keyboard, because he's practicing for his rock band tour. He's going on tour. And so his little protege that he's made, his fledgling, comes in. Louis comes in right behind. Lestat and the fledgling are arguing. And Louis like, hey, he's like, who is this? The fledgling says. And Lestat's like, Louis. And the fledgling like, is this Louis? You better put some respect on Louis' name and get out, you little street urchin. You don't even count. So anyway, now we have an official reunion between Lestat and Louis present day. Y'all, this put me in my feelings. This put me in my feelings because we finally got resolution and closure, I feel like, to this relationship. Not only really feeling Lestat's heart in this moment, I feel. When they talk about he still feels Claudia. He can't get her out of his head, and Louis feels the same way. And, I remember what happened on 9/8/1973. 9/8/1973. Did you hurt yourself? It was like the exchange was so poetic and so beautiful. Such beautiful storytelling in this episode. And it's like Lestat has held on to Louis this whole time. And Louis says, Lestat, why didn't you tell me the truth? That it was you who saved me. Why didn't you tell me? And he says, I couldn't. Like, I wanted you to figure it out on your own, and you did. And I'm like, 77 years later, you didn't let him stay with this gremlin the whole time and be mind bent. But, it goes to show, again, I did believe that they always loved each other. They were just toxic as hell together. They could not be together under any of it, under any circumstances or conditions. And you could tell that for Lestat, Louis was his. Like, y'all. And when he talks about the moments that Claudia looked up to him, and he said it looked like a child looking to their father for help. And he's like, and I just couldn't help her. I couldn't help her, y'all. It was so emotional. And then as they're embracing, as the whole world is tumbling because there's a hurricane happening behind them, y'all, just pull out the tissue. Do you hear me? Because it was like hello and it was goodbye. And Louis goes on to talk about how, I blamed you. You gave me a gift and I made it a curse. I didn't know it was a gift. And he's like, and I said, finally, we see Louis take accountability, responsibility, and become self-actualized, because he's like, I'm sorry. I was selfish. Come on, Louis. You know what I mean? And it was a beautiful moment that they shared there. And I'm like, okay, well, what's next? Y'all? I'm telling you, this had me on the edge of my seat, this whole episode. And so he leaves, and then we start hearing all this chatter. All this vampire chatter, and it's all about Louis, honey, because he's that one. And they're like, we should take him out. We should do this to him. We should do that to him. We should do everything to him. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on, child? Then we flash over to Daniel. Interview with a Vampire came out 4 months ago and then already sold 5 million copies. He's sitting there doing his press tour, apparently, and giving everybody hell. And I said, Lord, when I looked down, though, I saw he had his stunner shades on, and I saw the Vampire 3000 manicure. I said, oh, Lord, they done changed Daniel. All Daniel needed was to be a vampire to talk as much ish as he wants. And we already know what this means for the future. And I cannot wait. But come on, Daniel, and your 5 million copies. Okay. And so he gets out of the press and he immediately rings up Louis. He's like, your royalties, your residual checks keep getting pushed back. What's your current address? And you can tell now that they truly are besties. And Louis says, I'm so sorry he turned you out of spite. And Daniel ain't worried about a thing, honey. He hunting while he on the phone. And Daniel said, well, when we writing the next book? And Louis is like, stop, Daniel. Like, come on, Daniel. Come on. But you can see their bond. He's got the book sitting on his table, Louis does. And Daniel's like, get out of Dubai. Come on, let's do this. And Louis is like, I'm straight. And the book is at the top of my list. I'll read it at some point. Then we find him going into his rock garden room. Now the rocks have brand new meaning for us, right? It grounds him. He puts his feet in there. We see Claudia's yellow dress. We see a picture of his brother on the wall. And he's sitting in it, and I'm like, okay, this is a sweet way to end, baby. That wasn't it. He sits down and he says, listen, shut up. All you vampires clamoring, shut up and listen to me. Y'all big and bad. Okay. Y'all so big and bad. My address is 9252 Dubai Avenue, penthouse number 6 on the left. The doors is open. The windows open. There's a protective screening for vampires. If you that bad, come see about me. Come see about me. Y'all got all that ish to say. Come see about me. And I said, if F around and find out was a person, Louis sat down and said, listen, y'all better ask somebody about me because I own the night. Honey, listen. Interview with a Vampire, season 2. You owe me nothing. You told me a story, honey. You had me on a journey, a roller coaster ride of emotion, honey. Had the people in a frenzy in the comments section. Everyone who has come over here as a result of Interview with a Vampire season 2, thank you so much for being here. We're going to find another show for you. But in the meantime, enjoy all of this finale. This was a beautifully crafted story from the acting, Sam Reed, Asad Zaman, Jacob, I cannot say enough amazing things about these actors, about the writing, about the special effects, the set design. Kudos to you. I'm rooting for you in this upcoming award season. And all I gotta say is y'all have a lot to live up to for season 3, y'all. We're already renewed for season 3, and we know this is all going to be about the vampire Lestat and his rock band going on tour. We're gonna have our good faithful characters with the introduction of so many more, y'all. This was a masterpiece. That's all I have to say, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching and riding out this journey. Do not forget that Tuesday night, okay, at 7:05 Eastern Standard Time, myself and the ladies will be live to discuss all things Interview with the Vampire, the finale, okay? So make sure that you're there. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.